You're watching the best of Chip's interviews with ADTV. For those of you who don't know, Chip was the first person I ever filmed an interview with, way back in 2010. Let's go. Before you were signed as an artist, what was your ambition in terms of what you want to get out of the music industry?
Before I was signed, my ambition wasn't to get signed. A lot of people, they just think, well, I want a deal. But naming no names, there's a few people that have had a deal and released singles and done rice screens, So it's not about having a deal. It's about what you do when you're in the deal and what you leave with when you leave the deal. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are under the impression that if you're on a major record label, you're just gonna fly. It's not that. A lot of people have been signed this past couple months, and it should be interesting to see what people do. Because the advantage that me and acts like Tinchy had at the end of is that we weren't exactly polished when we signed our deal, but we had our core fan base already, which we built ourselves, that no one could take away from us because we did it. Us and our teams in the studio, we never had no help, we never had no big studio facilities. We had a PC, Cubase and Fruit Loops, you know what I'm saying? We were making some hits. There wasn't an underground club that we couldn't destroy. So it's like we took ourselves from 0 to 10. But not unfortunately, but more money is more power. The bigger the machine that pushes you, the further you can go. So a record label comes and takes us from 10 to 100 because we knew how to get from 0 to 10. Unfortunately, over here, they take an act from 0, especially coming from where we come from. They don't actually realize that to get from 0 to 10, that's the hardest part. Building a core fan base is entirely down to the artist themselves. There's no push, there's no money. You can do a million videos. If the people just don't take to you, they won't take to you. So the 0 to 10 is the hardest part, 10 to 100. That's what the majors do. Yeah, you die before you live. I wish they warned me when I started. Something about I'm on the other side of the glass ceiling. All these things that are like so descriptive that make people think like, raw, other side of the glass ceiling. So you look and you think, raw, could you see a glass ceiling? No. So you know what I mean? Things like that. It's just, you're just learning as I go along, and I feel that, I'm 20 now. I'm not 28 or 29 or 31, Wiley's age. I'm young, you know what I mean? So I'm learning, and one thing that I feel I try to pitch to other people as well is you can actually learn from other people's mistakes. It don't make you a bad person, If I see him F up doing that, I'm gonna make sure I don't do that, you know what I mean?
Do you feel like you've had any musical mistakes though?
Musical mistakes, I wouldn't say I've had musical mistakes, but I've been misled, I've been misconceived, I fell into traps. But at the same time, there was like, I fell into a success trap. So it's kind of like, it's just finding the balance of keeping myself happy and keeping, my fans happy at the same time. So I can't really see it as a mistake because, a hit's a hit. Like, it's not every day. People look at, people going top 10 and top 5 and like it's nothing. Do you know what I mean? I remember when it was a big thing. Well, it's a big thing for some people to come through and do it now, but I feel that between us collective of artists who have been doing it, consistently for the past couple of years, I'm the one that always reminds everyone, like, bruv, don't think that it's not something to celebrate, like, like a number 4 or a number 3 or anything in the top 10, even the top 20, because 5 years ago, none of us ever had the slightest idea that this is what it was gonna be, so I'm cool. It's like the icing on the cake where I know even if I don't have your heart yet, I'm gonna have your ears. Do you know what I'm saying? You can come to my CD with your hater ear, but it's gonna be very hard to leave once you listen to it as a body of work still hating. Do you get what I'm saying? So, you got Movado, you got Delilah, you got Wretch, you got Young Jeezy, you got Skepta, you got T.I., you got Professor Green, you got Meek Mills. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you can tell me when it's been done like that before, then I'll push my release date back. Everyone's seeing the direction that I'm going into because I feel that, I'm still young, I still want to grow, I still want to experiment, but in the midst of things, everything I want to do now, it has to be from like the bottom of the heart, man, because I feel that, for instance, Champion, I didn't think radio was going to support that song for reasons that are not to do with music but to do with politics. So now when it's on every single radio station, every single TV channel, that is more important to me than any chart position. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's like -1, you know, for me. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like, the country supporting that song shows that as a country we're standing for forgiveness. So that's like bigger than a #1, and it's looking like it's gonna be a big hit as well. So it's like a win-win for me. I want to get better. I want by about the age of 25. I want that certified respect that comes with, you know, proving yourself to yourself. And once you find that in yourself, people find it in you. So I'm working towards that. That's the thing for me. Every day I just want to get better. I've learned that try and engage when the people want music from you, and one thing that I'm never going to do, and I'll stick to my guns, is not rush, because every single A&R that said to me, yo, you need to put out a single now because this person's coming and that person's coming and then you're going to get washed away and everyone's going to forget you, is still on my phone line today. So, you know what I mean? You got to try and engage where you're at as a person, and I say this to the artists as well. If you want to know where your song's at, you know, you drop a song and you want to know where it's at, go out there. Like, I don't think you can, like, YouTube views, no. Like, you can't gauge it off that. You drop a song, like, go out there and see where it's at. Like, literally, when I drop More Money, More Gear, like, no video, no nothing in terms of the urban side of things, I dropped the song, gave it 2 weeks, went to the club, pressed play, I'm looking, I'm just dancing around like a clown, I'm looking like, who's singing this? Who's dancing? Like, I know I made it for, so let me see if I'm getting that reaction. Let me see if he's gassed when his drinks comes, when this song comes on. Let me see if she's dancing. Let me see if he's pre and her because the song makes you do that. You know what I mean? You have to go out there and look and see where your song's at. I don't think if you get 1 million views, you're gonna go #1 or top 20. I don't want to name you some people that found out it doesn't go like that. You know what I mean? You have to go out there and see where your music's at. So there's that, and not rushing. And once you do that and understand, and if you write your own music, I feel like you have to give yourself some time to live. It's like, I listened to Transition, it's a dark album. I was in a dark place. If I could go back, I'll do it again. Do you know what I mean? But you have to get to that point. Like, the amount of time I've given myself to live now, I can guarantee I feel like my next album will do statistically well and be an excellent body of work because I've took the time. Like, rushing, say no rush, no fuss, but a lot of people have been rushing and now they're reaping the benefits of rushing. Okay, there was a point where, you know, I reached out to a lot of UK artists to work on my album, yeah, and I'll openly say they all said no. Like, one way or another, they all said no. And I kind of understand. The reason why is, like, people, it's not a bad thing to use each other, that's the first thing I would say, but it's like, people gravitate to what's new. You know, as soon as your new guy buzz wears off, that's when it's time for your music to do the talking, you know what I mean? You're not new, you're not the new thing anymore, there's no gas, it's not like, have you heard so-and-so, he's sick, it's like, it's just your music. So, I'm not going to talk about the people who said no, but there was a lot of people that said no. I think vested interest, egos, and in terms of artists, ones that actually solely don't believe in themselves, the friendliness in friendly competition gets lost. You know, that's with artists that don't believe in themselves and their own abilities. That's what it is, and you know, that's something that can easily happen, but then it becomes a problem where one person, you know, if X and Y are friends, but then one loses the friendly competition, that's when, you know, vested interests start occurring and, you know, egos, and it's something you gotta just take with a pinch of salt and just sprinkle it on your chips and make it taste better. So I don't see it as a bad thing, you know, me saying that, you know, there's no friends in this industry. It's literally just take it as a pinch of salt, sprinkle it on your chips and make them taste better. So keep moving. You know what it's like? People always ask me about income, and I don't mind openly talking about it because I want people like, you know, coming up MCing to know that what you're getting into it for, you know, especially if you see it as your occupation. So I think through the stages that I've been doing music, you know, the income's kind of reflected the stage I was at, so I haven't really known, I've known a struggle in the extent that no job's easy, but say for instance, age 16 when I was, you know, running around doing Who Are You PAs, I might do like 3 to 4 a week for like 5-6 bills each, you know. I'm just a kid, I go to school, That was fun, man. I was like the man in school, you know, and pay my DJ, you know, petrol, you know. So when I was like 16, I used to make like, I don't know, like a couple bags a week. And to me, it was the norm because I was working hard. But, you know, that's not including whatever league on my own was selling. But that check used to just come through the post. And Logan Sama knows that that was like the biggest selling mixtape of the time, you know. So it just varies in stages. But, you know, as I've stepped up and started making hits, you know, like things like PRS from having big songs on the radio and stuff, they just, it's cool. It's good money, man. I'm not thinking, hey, I'm the artist and you're just a listener, so I must be right and you must be wrong. And I feel that that's where a lot of people go wrong, man. You just get too stuck in your ways and you don't listen, you know what I mean? Even with A&Rs, it's like everything's too based on the textbook. It's like everyone forgets about how it feels. Do you know what I mean? It's just like the other day when, I won't say who, but you know, I was sending in a verse for someone's track, and then they said the A&R basically, like, they changed the drums on the song, yeah. So they've sent me back. I've sent my verse to like a demo what I recorded, and they've sent me back the like their track, and it's like the drums have completely changed, and I'm like, but if you sent me this track with these drums, I would have written something different, because I write to instruments. I look at my voice like it's an instrument. You can't just take my track and put it on a song and change the drums, you know what I mean? So I'm in the studio. So we've gone over and the A&R's like to me, I'm like, look man, I'm like, the song's a hit anyway, do you know what I mean? It's like, don't overthink it. You're trying to do this, you're thinking about the pre-hook, the rare, because you're doing so much thinking about it charting that you're forgetting how it feels. And he said to me about the artist whose track it was, the A&R said to me, well, on the last track we did, I said, let's change this, and we changed it and it went number 3. And I said, well, if you focused on how it felt and you didn't change it, it might have went number 1. There you go. So that's the story about A&Rs for me. Everything that, a lot of A&Rs, I can say I've come across world A&Rs that actually get it and go more by the feeling, but over here, everything's by the textbook. It's literally based on what they think 2 radio stations want to hear. And I think in time that will change, but I don't think it will be tonight. But I'm at a stage where I go by what feels right before what I think people want to hear. How do you persuade a label to go with what you believe in? You just gotta put your foot down, man. It's like, you got different people have different professions, you know what I'm saying? I feel that a problem that record labels are now having is that why there's such a crisis in the UK. I'm not gonna go naming labels that are crumbling, but it's like, why there's such a crisis, you got people trying to take on professions that are not theirs. Do you know what I'm saying? The artist's profession is to make the music, and that's why you took them on in the first place. Your profession is to market it. Sure, yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, there's always room for, you know, agreement, debating, and even disagreeing, but you have to remember whose profession is whose. So the second that you can start getting into problems is when, you know, someone whose profession is not making the music, you let influence you making your music, and then when it goes wrong, they'll just drop you. You know what I mean? It's like, it's on to the next one. You have to remember it's just business. So it's like, let them make what you want to make and let them market it the way that is their craft to market it. Give them your input on how you want the public to perceive you, and then let them go from there. You know, now you got, you know, with these 360 deals, you got, you know, labels trying to have input on your live show. That's not their profession, you know what I mean? So what they're going to be telling you, the direction to go with your live show, is what they want to see as a fan of music. But then they're not bearing in mind your audience, you know what I mean? That's where I think the problems are kind of happening. But you just got to be, you know, strong in what you believe in, and you got to know your audience and your fan base and try and connect with it. I feel that, for instance, if you're a dude and, you know, your fan base appears to be females, don't try and fight it, work with it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, accept what your fan base is. I feel that is a problem that a lot of artists have. They spend their time trying to please an audience that is not theirs. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, okay, cool, Chipmunk's fan base is mostly girls. I'm gonna try and keep them happy then, do you know what I mean? And meanwhile, try and grab everything else that comes around that, you know what I mean? So yeah, I want dudes to be into my music, so I'm going to try and pull them in as well. I'm not going to spend my time neglecting who's into me. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you get an MC that's not a gangster, but you're trying to make gangster music. They're never going to be into you. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you're not doing what these people on the streets are actually doing, but you want to make the music to please them. London's a small place. Someone will catch you and F you up and you get caught out. Do you know what I mean? Just don't do it. Spend time trying to please who is actually into your music. I think that's a key part of, you know, being an artist, just accepting your fan base and trying to work with. What would Chip say to Chip when he was younger? Well, I say, like, why are you so gassed, bro? But then after that, I'd probably say, like, when you're a teenager, it's alright to be a teenager. When you're an adult, you do what adults do. Don't overthink it and just be yourself. If they're gonna love you for who you are, then just be yourself. If they're gonna hate you, just be yourself. But when you're a teenager, like, it's alright to be a teenager. Like, you're allowed to fuck up. That's what I'd say.
Hope you enjoyed all those interviews over the years of Chip. Like I said, Chip was the first person I ever did a filmed interview with, and we shot that interview in the MySpace building in 2010. You could see the camera quality was it was ridiculously poor, but the content and what Chip was saying at that young age, his grasp of the industry and foresight is timeless. Like, you can listen to what he was saying then, 10 years ago, and you can play it now and it holds weight. And then over the years, you know, talking to him when he was doing I Am Chipmunk, Transition, you know, you could see different parts of his career when he was releasing a song with Chris Brown. And Chip is someone I always had a great respect for, because in our scene, he is undeniably one of the best to ever do it, in my opinion. And his mindset is something that is, you know, when you're tuned in with Chip and you're on the frequencies, it's just gems, man. And I'm just glad that we have someone like him, a part of our culture, and his musical excellence in pushing his pen, unquestionable. So yeah, man, you guys let me know what you thought of the interviews. Leave comments, whatever quotes or parts stuck out for you. Let me know, man. All right, peace.